his presentation, short presentation, and answer all questions. And afterwards, I will take again back from Dr. Rey. Thank you very much, Dr. Rey.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you everyone for being here. It's actually my great pleasure to help as many people as I possibly can around the world. And that doesn't actually matter whether I have a financial interest or not. I'm just part of a global mission of the company to share what I believe is the most profound product that's actually ever been discovered to help the body to heal itself, ever discovered. That's my personal opinion. I'm not alone. There's a lot of other doctors that I interact with that will agree with me. We always have to make a disclaimer, of course, when we share ASEA, because ASEA as a product was not registered as a pharmaceutical. And there's actually a good reason for that. A pharmaceutical company offered to buy it for a lot of money. And the owner of the technology refused because he didn't believe it was going to get to the people where he wanted it to get. So I'm going to probably keep this more informal. I don't really think I need to go through a PowerPoint slide presentation. I can let Tom do that with you on another occasion. I'm sure most of you have watched some of the videos of the company. And you can get all the science and you can get all that kind of information. I think my feeling at the moment is I'm doing more informal discussions because they also have a quality to them, if that's okay with everybody on the call. Let me tell you briefly my background and my story, because I think that's relevant to you understanding me and my journey. When I was 18, I'm 65 now, by the way. I turned 65 last Sunday. Now, at 18 years of age, I was an asthmatic. I was on the usual corticosteroids, the cortisone, prednisolone, and Ventolin, etc. And it wasn't going anywhere, which is pretty typical medically. It's managing signs and symptoms, but not necessarily removing the cause of the problem. Now, I happened to read a book on yoga. I went to a yoga school, started doing some yoga breathing exercises, which helped me a lot. And the lady suggested I see a husband who's a naturopath and a chiropractor. I had no idea what they were, and she explained. So I undertook treatment with Dr. George Coughlin. Her name was Joyce Coughlin, my yoga teacher. And changes in diet, supplements, nutritional supplements, some herbal treatments. And I'm here to tell you I've never had asthma since. So I think we can call that a cure. I'm 65 and that was at the age of 18. So that became an extraordinary experience for me. I hadn't yet decided what I wanted to do in life, but I very quickly did thereafter. So the very following year in 1974, I entered the Southern School of Natural Therapies. I graduated as an osteopath and a naturopath. 4 years later, I went on to do chiropractic and graduated in 1982 as a chiropractor and practiced for the next 40 plus years in Melbourne, Australia with that same gentleman, by the way, and his wife that originally cured my asthma. And I came to live in Phuket 3 years ago. I'd had 40 plus years of long days seeing patient after patient, and all of my therapies were natural. I was very much a natural therapy practitioner because, let's face it, what cured me? It certainly wasn't allopathy, orthodox medicine. It was changes in lifestyle, diet, and herbs and nutrition, frankly. So that's been my mission in life, and that continues to this day. And we won't go into the arguments philosophically between drug-based pharmacological medicine and the philosophies of God-given healing, in my opinion, which is diet, nutrition, herbs, plants, and now Redox. That's another technology, which is the new kid on the block. So I'll just give you a very quick story, both from the point of view of ASEA Redox and how it came to be. The first discovery of a redox signaling molecule was nitric oxide. So I'll do a little bit on the science, but we've got a varied audience here, so bear with me trying to make sure everyone can follow the journey. So the first discovery of a redox signaling molecule, and redox is a hybrid name, reductants and oxidants. So you put re and ox together and you get redox. So it's a hybrid name from two categories of redox signaling molecules, reductants and oxidants. Now, the first signaling molecule classified as such was in 1998. They discovered it in 1997 and they got the Nobel Prize in 1998, and that's nitric oxide. And they got the Nobel Prize because it was discovered to be a profound regulator of blood pressure in the human body. And the doctors would know it affects the diameter of blood vessels, which in turn will affect blood pressure. They knew about oxidants for some time before that, of course. We've all heard of free radical damage and oxidants, but they had a bad rap. They were pretty much seen as creating problems in the human body, creating and contributing to disease. As our knowledge is evolving, we're realizing, well, yes, they can be damaging, but they can also be very powerfully effective. I mean, oxidants used to be looked at as the exhaust of the Krebs cycle, where we make ATP, energy in the mitochondria of the cells. And that's why I said they were viewed as bad, and we needed antioxidants to counter them. Now, part of that is still true, but a significant part that's not. The most powerful weapons of the immune system of the human body are actually oxidants. The human body uses oxidants not only to kill microbes, viruses, bacteria, but even to cause a cell in the human body to die when it's involved in that process. In the meantime, research took off significantly on the signaling ability of oxidants and now reductants from 1997-98, when they discovered the power of nitric oxide. And a lot of research was taking place. Now, we need to say at this juncture that redox signaling molecules are actually constituted primarily by sodium chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen. Put simply, that's salt water. But I remind everyone on the call, your body's full of salt water. I mean, we should be 60 to 70%, hopefully closer to 65 to 70% water. But it's not just water, it's salt water. It contains many electrolytes and many nutrients and many other ingredients, you might say. So the redox signaling molecules are predominantly made from sodium chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, and some include nitrogen, like nitric oxide. And they're actually made in the Krebs cycle. And the Krebs cycle is a complex biochemical pathway which takes place in the powerhouse of the cell, and that's called the mitochondria. Now, you've got up to 100 trillion cells in the human body, and you've got up to 10,000 mitochondria in some cells. So this is a veritable God-given universe unto themselves, the cells of the human body. And 20 billion of those cells die every day naturally, and that's an approximation. And they need to be replaced every single day. And that doesn't matter whether it's a kidney cell or a liver cell or a stomach cell or a skin cell. Most of cells in the human body are able to replicate themselves and replace themselves with new models, you might say. Some cannot. Neurons in the central nervous system, in the brain and the spinal cord, as the doctors would know, are not able to replenish themselves or replicate themselves. And there's now some argument about cardiac muscle cells, because traditionally it was viewed that they could not reproduce themselves, but now we're getting evidence that they can, especially with the right stem cells. Now, just so that you know, stem cells I just mentioned, and I'm just going to say briefly, stem cells are still cells. Now, what you're about to learn is every single cell in the human body is dependent upon reductants and oxidants. Without redox molecules, we would all die. And that includes all living cells. So that is not just plants and animals, it's humans, it's all of us. Anything made from cells. Literally, this is the deepest, what I call the deepest signaling molecule that's ever been discovered, that profoundly signals throughout the body what is required to maintain health and balance. Now, medically, that's called homeostasis. It is the deepest signaling molecule. So let me just say, there are many signaling molecules in the body, or chemicals. I mean, we've all heard of neurotransmitters. We don't have to go into the detail of serotonin or GABA or, there's a myriad of redox, acetylcholine. They go on and on. They're signaling as well. There's also hormones. We all know we've got hormones. We've all heard of hormones. They're very powerful signaling chemicals. There's a veritable orchestra going on that's required to keep your body healthy and keep you healthy. If you have sick cells, you will get a sickness. If you have extensive sick cells, you will be labelled with a disease. And I remind you, diseases were not invented in terms of their names by the good Lord. We gave them the names, okay? People gave the names to disease processes. The fact is they're sick cells, and something is wrong with cellular function for you to have a disease. Exactly the same applies to if you're healthy. If you're healthy, then your cells are healthy. So therefore, you have no disease. I'm happy to say at the age of 65, I don't have any disease and I take no drug medications whatsoever, fortunately. But then I've had a pretty healthy lifestyle on diet, nutrition. I've used plant-based therapies, herbs, homeopathy my whole life. Now, that's just a short introduction to redox signaling molecules produced inside of every cell from the mitochondria, split seconds every day. These are constantly produced. They signal the messages. What messages? Damage has occurred. There's too much oxidants. We need to counter that with internally produced antioxidants via reductants, which I'll come back to shortly. So the human body has its own wisdom, given, which I think I can say safely on this call, because by the good Lord, okay? I mean, they were part of the inherent systems that were given to the human body in its creation. And I'll quickly teach you as we progress some of the 5 major genetic pathways that have been proven to be affected by redox signaling molecules. Before I do that, let me just say this. The co-discoverer of DNA, Dr. James Watson. Now I say that again, the co-discoverer of DNA, the double helix, the chromosomes with all the genes, Dr. James Watson, is now currently in his older age exclusively studying redox signaling molecules. He believes this is the greatest new frontier in medical science. Now, I happen to agree with him. So there's a lot of science now moving into this area. If you go onto the PubMed database of the world, the scientific database, you will currently see over 30,000 research papers on redox signaling molecules. Now, I remind you, when you go into these scientific databases, including Google Scholar, I do not include Google as a scientific database that contains anyone's opinion on anything, and it's full of trash. So you must use, Google Scholar or PubMed if you really want to look at the current research on redox signaling molecules. Don't put in ASEA. ASEA is a brand name. So let me just go back to something I've already said, and then we'll move fast forward from there. If this is made from salt water, which they are, then you would expect a good place to start research is what can we do to salt water to break it up and potentially create redox signaling molecules. So that research took off from 1999, 2000, and there was a biotech company in Utah in the United States, and they were ionizing salt water to break up sodium, chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen, seeking to recreate redox molecules. Now, maybe I should backtrack a little bit, because some of you might be thinking, well, if you make them, why do you need them? Well, the science has already demonstrated from puberty, and I mean healthy puberty. If you're not a healthy child or a healthy pubescent person, you are deficient in redox molecules, or you have an imbalance. They need to be balanced. The critical point is balance. And you will have a lack of some and therefore an imbalance. If you're a healthy pubescent, 14, 15, girl or boy, then you've generally got a reasonable complement of redox molecules and you're okay. The science has demonstrated we drop 10% per decade. Now, I say that again, 10% of trillions of molecules we drop per decade. If you want to keep it simple, 1% per year. Now, obviously, that is an average. So if you're a healthy 20-year-old, 30-year-old, you have a good diet, good lifestyle, you exercise, well, you might be dropping 8% per year, but you are dropping. Everyone drops. The production of redox molecules, and it's pure science based on mitochondrial presence. With age, mitochondria become less efficient. You have less of them unless you're exercising a lot. Then you will produce less redox molecules. So the average is 10% per decade. I'm 65. Let's say I was pubescent healthy, which I wasn't because I had asthma, but let's say I was at 15. That would put me at 65, 50% less production of redox signaling molecules. I remind you, there are trillions of them. And they are doing very important signaling work that is required for the repair of cells, and the removing of microbes within the body, and also the removing, as I said earlier, of sick cells, badly damaged cells that can't be repaired through apoptosis. These redox signaling molecules affect the epigenetics. They affect the expression of genes. The whole idea that genes control everything has changed. That's why you've noticed we've mapped out the entire human genome and we haven't cured everything known to man. That's why. It's not just genes, it's gene expression, epigenetics. And many things affect gene expression. Nutrition affects it, exercise affects it, antioxidants affect it. And particularly now we know redox signaling molecules have a profound effect on genetic expression, and 5 major genetic pathways, which in turn affect multitudes of other genes. Now, those 5 major genetic pathways, a study was done by Torrent Laboratories. Anybody that wants access to any of this can speak to Tom later. He will get you access to these studies. This was a double-blind crossover trial conducted by Torrent Laboratories, independent on gene signaling affected by ASEA redox signaling molecules. And it demonstrated a 20 to 31% increase in signaling. You can read that as an improvement through 5 major genetic pathways. That was the immune system, it was the digestive system, it was hormone modulation, hormone balance, it was the cardiovascular system as well. So 5 of these major pathways where many human diseases come from were profoundly affected. Double-blind crossover. One group got salt water, the other group got ASEA redox made from salt water. And that signaling took off in the ASEA group. There was no change at all in the gene signaling in the saltwater group. And when they reversed it, double-blind crossover trial, the opposite happened. So that's one of many studies that have been done by ASEA. Now, if we go back to the story of the biotech company, they were able to create these redox molecules, but they were unstable. They're charged. These are 2 to 3 atoms. We're not talking complex chemicals here. And they're very fleeting and they're very, very susceptible to going back to salt water. And that's what happens in the human body. They're made, they signal, they go to salt water. They're made, they signal, they go to salt water. But the problem is over time, we tend to get too many oxidants and we don't get enough of the reductants. Now, the reductants profoundly signal the need for antioxidants. Now, most people are familiar with getting antioxidants in their diet. Most people are not familiar, except the doctors, where the most profound master antioxidants of the human body are not in foods. They're made inside the cells of the human body. And the greatest master antioxidant of all is glutathione. There is another profound one called SOD, superoxide dismutase, and there's another one called catalase. All of those were found in another study to increase from 600 to 800% on the ASEA group. Now, what that tells you, if you have a balance of redox molecules, you won't make extra antioxidants if you don't need them, because that's called homeostasis, that's called balance. If you have a balance between the oxidants and the reductants, you won't make extra antioxidants because you don't need them. Now, isn't it interesting that the study showed 600 to 800% increase in the master antioxidant, SOD and glutathione? What that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, is we all lack antioxidants. Everybody is lacking in antioxidants. And one way to correct that, we now know, is ASEA redox. Now, I would defy you to go and find any other supplement ever that increases glutathione levels to that percentage. There isn't any. It is constituted by 3 amino acids, of course. The body can make it, but it just doesn't make enough without the correct signaling. And the ideal signaling comes from redox signaling molecules, and particularly reductants are the ones that we tend to lack with age. Now, I'm just going to say quickly, and the doctors will relate to this, that the commonest cause of disease currently, medical science, is viewed as inflammation. I'm going to say that again. Inflammation is at the seat of all disease. You cannot name a disease that does not involve inflammation. It doesn't matter whether you're talking cancer. It doesn't matter whether you're talking Alzheimer's disease. It doesn't matter whether you're talking a stomach ulcer, okay, or Parkinson's, or anything you care to name. Inflammation is at the seat of all disease. But it's not alone. The 2 primary causes of disease viewed at today's latest knowledge is oxidative damage and inflammation. Now, I said inflammation is involved in all disease. You'll also find that oxidative damage is involved in pretty much all diseases as well. So yes, they go together. They concurrently go together to create most, if not all, of the diseases that we would care to name. So now let's go back to my journey into this. Well, now let me just continue with what I was saying first about the Utah company. They were not able to stabilize the molecules. And Virtus Norton was sitting on the board of the company. I'm not going into his history. Tom can teach you that. But he was a very famous businessman in the US, right-hand man to the CEO of Kraft Foods, managing billions of dollars of business. He was a traditional businessman. He'd retired back to Utah, and he was asked to sit on the board of this biotech company to try and turn it into a profitable venture. They'd spent $20 million on very effective, positive research. When he sat on the board, he very quickly realized they were running out of money. They were in trouble. And long story short, he and a friend bought the patents and the technology for making the redox signaling molecules. And the reason he did that is he knew the power. He'd been taking the product. A portable piece of equipment that made these molecules cost $250,000 US back then. So not every home can have one of those. So he knew that there was something very significant with this discovery. And he stuck his neck out, you might say, in buying the technology, because if you can't stabilize those molecules, which, by the way, had never been done in history before, entire history, planet Earth, he knew that if he couldn't get those molecules stabilized, he might have bought a lemon. Now, he probably realized he hadn't bought an entire lemon because he could take it for the rest of his life from his own portable machine. But he went to an atomic medical physicist by the name of Dr. Gary Samuelson, who was a neighbor of his son. His son's Tyler Norton. He runs the company now because Virtus is 80. So long story short, Dr. Gary Samuelson was not interested. Let me make that clear. He was into another major technology of today called nanotechnology. And he said, no, I think we know everything about salt water, but he promised to look at all the research over the next weekend. He spent 5 days researching it all and was absolutely shocked at what he was reading. He was totally stunned. And he rang the universities where some of the studies had been done. And he said, why are you saying this? How can you say you got these results? And they said, well, because we did. Anyway, long story short again, he thought there's something special going on here. And he started to extensively work on redox signaling molecules, getting up to speed on it. And of course, continued the research in the electrolysis of not just making the molecules, but trying to stabilize them. That took some time. And now it's heavily patented, many, many steps in the process, varying temperatures. They take the Utah mains water, they reverse osmosis it, they have to distill it because they must control everything in the most purified water that they can get. And then, of course, they had pharmaceutical grade salt, and then they ionize it, anode, cathode, breaking up the molecules, and he was successful in forming a balanced set of 16 redox signaling molecules, 8 reductants, 8 oxidants, enclosed within microclusters of water. A most amazing job. He should get the Nobel Prize. Frankly, he won't, because modern science hasn't even caught up with this yet. This is the only supplement that has ever existed on this planet ever of redox signaling molecules. And as many of us on this call, I think, would believe, I think I'm in good company to say that. You need to choose your company wisely. These are God-given. Redox signaling molecules were not invented by man or woman. They were created by the great creator. We've just discovered them. So science has finally unraveled them. And Dr. Gary Samuelson, along with Verdus Norton's vision, and now Tyler Norton, have made them available to the world. Now, let me just quickly touch on why it's available this way and why not every doctor on the planet knows about it, because that's really important. Let me just say, firstly, why would every doctor know about it when it hasn't come through the pharmaceutical industry? Because with all respect to the good doctors, and I know many, and many are personal friends, we are all brainwashed in this world. Let's be frank. I don't care who you are. You grew up in a social milieu of people. You go through your education process. And I remind every doctor on the call, I'd love to hear from you how many hours of nutrition you actually were taught in your medical degree, let alone anything you were taught on redox signaling molecules. And I will say this, if you completed your graduate degree more than 12 years ago, as I did, you would never have heard of redox signaling molecules, unless you keep up with the latest current research on PubMed. And let's be honest, most of us do not. I didn't. We act out of our past education for the most part because we're busy seeing patients. We don't have the time to keep up with the latest research. So let me just say this. I was first approached with redox signaling molecules 5 years ago in Australia, maybe 5 to 6. I paid no attention. I'd never heard of them. I had a very nice lunch with a 5 times karate world champion who I had treated and did karate with many years before. And she had found a great result and wanted to share that with me. Like I said, I didn't pay much attention at all. I don't even remember the discussion, quite frankly. I just remember we had a lunch. And I went back to my clinic and said, thank you very much. And I didn't think about it again. I didn't do any research. And then she came to stay with me here in Phuket. A few years later, I'd moved here to live and she came on holiday. Now, I had a lot more time. So I spent a lot more time. She said, look, now take a look at this. Really, take a serious look. This is an unbelievable product. So, okay. So I started to read the testimonial stories of results, which, by the way, are on hidden sites because the company can make no medical claim because it's not registered as a pharmaceutical product. The plant where it's all made is FDA approved, but the product is not FDA approved to treat anything. So it was registered as a food supplement. And that was done for a very, very specific reason. Verdus wanted to get it out to the people of the world as quickly as possible. They'd had profound results. Profound results with what? With anything you care to name. You can care to name anything you like and you will see profound results if you take a look, and you will experience them if you take the product. So he was advised by a senator, if you want to get this out as quickly as possible, then you don't go the pharmacological route because that'll cost you $1 billion to get it up as a drug. And when you do get it up as a drug, you're going to end up with it having limited application. You can't get a universal holy grail of healing as a drug because there isn't any. This is a holy grail. This actually helps the cells of every cell in the human body. So it doesn't matter what the name of the disease condition is, providing it's capable of reaching the full healing, which, as people on the call would know, that's going to be very dependent upon your age and just how sick you are. It doesn't mean it will not help your body to heal itself with anything. It will, but it's a matter of how much can it remove multitudes of damage that has already occurred. But you will be astounded with what it's capable of doing. So I actually spent a week or two. She was here and I was looking at these stories and I'm thinking, no, this can't be true. I was reading all my failures. And any practitioner on this call would be well aware. It's nice when we help people, but we kind of remember more the ones we didn't because they're the ones that we feel we were not able to help. And I had many over my practice life. Many died from all manner of cancers or disease processes that You know, I might have alleviated some suffering, but I was not able to remove many of those conditions. And I'm reading these extraordinary result stories that, so I found, I really couldn't believe it, quite honestly. I still am stunned to this day when I read them every day, but I now know they're true because I have them in my own group. I personally supervise these results now every single day. So anyway, I made a decision, and that was, look, if 50% of these stories are true, not 100%, 50%, it is still the most remarkable product that I've ever come across that allows the body to heal itself. And that's what the company will say. They will tell you this product doesn't cure, heal, prevent disease, anything. They'll say it simply gives your body what it needs to heal itself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please read between the lines. Yeah. What's the difference between giving a product that allows the body to heal itself and the product? I mean, I don't know what that difference is, but I'll tell you why we have to say it, and that's the law. It's the law. I don't control the law. I don't make the laws. I don't like the language of law, quite frankly. If anybody today cares to Google medication, Google it. I did 3 months ago. Google the word medication. Now, I would think most people in the world have been brainwashed to think medications heal. Well, read what the first definition of medication that will come up will say this: it is a drug used to diagnose, cure, treat, or prevent disease. Well, that's not my definition of medication at all. My personal definition of a medication is something that really heals, truly heals. That's my definition. That's not the lawful definition. So we run on laws. And of course, the company wants to help as many people around the world as possible, do it as quietly as possible. Of course, they're not going to be able to keep it quiet. When you get results like we get, you're not going to be able to keep it quiet. But we do have to be very careful with language because we do not want to affect the company's ability to help as many people around the world as possible. It's now in 33 countries. There's an internal drink that we take. It's in the blue bottle. You can see up behind me the blue bottle. That's how the drink comes to you. And the gel comes in the tubes. You can see that the white tubes on the side. The gel outside in comes on a skin application methodology. So it's what we call inside out, outside in. You cannot overdose on redox molecules. They will go back to salt water. There is no toxicity. There is no allergenicity. But there is the most profound healing that anybody that uses this product will have ever seen in their life. And I don't care if you're a doctor on the call or you're a professor or whoever you are, you will see the most profound healing results that you have ever seen in all of your life if you use this product. Now, I'm pretty much going to just give a couple of quick stories for you. Peter will give his own personal story, but just to show you the power of this product. From my own personal experience right here I've got people all over the world now, but I had somebody got stuck here due to COVID-19 from France. 5 months ago, 6 months ago, they were stuck in Phuket due to COVID-19. They were in their 70s and they came to me with low back pain. I remind you, I'm an osteopath and a chiropractor as well as a naturopath, but this person had obvious signs of dementia. And the wife, had whispered in my ear. And this person actually was fully appraised and assessed at the Bangkok Hospital in Phuket in Bangkok while they were here, after first seeing me. And they were diagnosed, as you can expect, doctors, with Alzheimer's. The person was crying, depressed because of a loss of memory and confusion. And so I helped the low back, but then I suggested this person go on a sea of redox, and he did. Now, we couldn't get him on the dose that I wanted him on because of access to it. Thailand doesn't have the drink yet. It has the gel, but it doesn't have the drink. I bring my drink in from Malaysia. So I had limited supply. So he was taking it. And he noticed a difference. He didn't notice much in the first month. That's not uncommon. Second month, he went to 4 cups a day, which is 240 mil, and he noticed a big change. By the end of 4 months, his wife told me his memory is back to where it was 15 years ago. The smile came back on his face. The joy came back in his life. He was recovering his mind. and he was just stunned, as was I, even though I knew it would help him. He then shared it with his daughter. His daughter is where some of you are on the call in the US. She's in Pennsylvania. Now, I'm just going to say quickly, she had chronic candidiasis. She had leaky gut. She had chronic digestive problems. She had a fibroid the size of a 6-month baby in her uterus, causing all kinds of problems. She couldn't think straight. She struggled to get through the day. She was 38 years of age with 4 autistic children. Can you imagine the state of mind she would have been in? I cried when the father told me about her, and I hadn't even met the girl. She started on a C of redox. It's now 5 months. She says to me a month ago, I feel like I've come out of a coma after 15 years. Every one of her problems is profoundly better. She's not fully healed yet, of course not. That will take 2 years. But she is the best she has ever been in her life, as is her autistic children. Remarkable stories there as well. And indeed, her husband's psoriasis cleared up in 3 days from his face. And the doctors would know that technically, medically, that's incurable. So I only say those very quickly. Tom can guide you to as many testimonials as you like. And he can guide you to the science that's been done as well. I just wanted to share. Oh, yeah, I'll give you one last quick one. I was contacted. One of the people I've educated here in Phuket in a C of redox is a health coach. She works at one of the health resorts and spas. And one of her acquaintances in Bangkok, who's an expat, had a cough. Again, 5-6 months ago. Went to the Bangkok hospital, was diagnosed. She wanted to be checked for COVID because her father was coming to visit. And she was checked all right, and they found stage 4 lung cancer. She was 58. It was in the upper lobe of the left lung. It had metastasized into the right lung as well. And it had also metastasized, the doctors know what I'm talking about, spread into the lymph nodes in the mediastinum, in the column between the lungs. It was already stage 4. They actually gave her a 5% chance. And by the way, a 5% chance medically is to survive 5 years. The definition medically of a cancer cure is that you're alive 5 years later. That is not my definition. That is the medical definition. They gave her 5%. Well, I'll tell you what I would have given her. Without the power of something like redox, I wouldn't have given her 12 months, and I wouldn't have given her 5%. I would have given her 1%. A very good friend of mine died of lung cancer in Australia. I was the best man at his wedding before I knew about redox, unfortunately, and he lasted 12 months. Lung, pancreas and brain are not good cancers to have, as the doctors know. The prognosis is very poor. Anyway, let me just tell you, 5 months later, they removed for the doctor's knowledge, they removed the upper lobe. She decided to have that removed. She refused any chemo, radiotherapy whatsoever. She went to a health resort where she got on a vegan diet. That was mentioned on the call earlier. She cleaned up diet. She got on Kangen water, just healthy water, clean water, alkaline, full of antioxidants. And 5 months later, they did very sophisticated testing. Only 3 weeks ago in the Bangkok hospital, they can't find anything. They can't find any cancer cell whatsoever in her body. So that's just another quick story. Now, I think that's enough stories from my point of view. I think it's time for me to answer any questions people have. And then perhaps Peter will share, because Peter's right on this call. He's going to share his amazing story as well, personal story. But I just thought I'd share those with you because they are not other people's stories that I was not involved with. I supervised those people and many, many more. I just share those ones because they're contemporary, they're very current ones. So I'm going to hand this back to you, Tom. Can you just open the floor for any questions so I can answer from my point of view before I need to go?
Thank you very much, Dr. Rey, for this. I'm speechless. It's so fantastic, a presentation with these testimonials from what you experience with your patients. It's absolutely out of my mind.
And there's many more, Tom. There's many more. It is a profound pleasure for me just to be able to bring people out of the darkness. And it's happening constantly. I'm managing people every day all over the world. It doesn't matter where they are. I'll manage them through their journey, because the redox works for everyone. But the two key points that everyone must remember is time and dosage.
Correct.
Time and dosage. And you can teach that. You cannot expect to be cured in a month. You need time and you need the correct dosage. And there is no measure of how deficient you are. There's no test, ladies and gentlemen. So the experiment is to get your dose up to the level where you will get the profound results. And that will always happen once you get the correct dosage. Sorry, Tom, I'll just pass it back to you.
Thank you very much. Iman, if you could direct questions, I would appreciate before we will proceed to Peter.
Yeah. Thank you again, Dr. Dixon. Thank you, Ray, for that. It's a very profound and amazing information compressed in less than 40 minutes. A lot of information to digest there. You mentioned about, my question is, I could start with a question with, on behalf of my family. Maybe they have other questions. My question is about the two critical factors you mentioned, time and dosage. How do we determine this? I started this 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you're going to. I actually teach people
Sorry, Tom. Ray, you're breaking up. Can you go nearer to the mic? You're breaking up.
I am. Can you hear me? Tom, can you hear me? Yeah, so I would say, I say to everyone, please don't begin this product unless you are prepared to take it for 3 months, particularly if I'm working on an internal condition. For example, if I get somebody with a musculoskeletal problem, a shoulder pain or a tennis elbow or a arthritis in the knee, I know that the Renu 28 is going to show results pretty quickly. So I'm not talking about that. The Renu 28 gel will show results in aches and pains very quickly. And it's healing. It's not an anti-inflammatory drug, ladies and gentlemen, and doctors. But when I'm dealing with someone's ill health, disease processes internally, long established, I will say 3 to 6 months. That is my mantra, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months. I say it all the time. I have to teach my group constantly, 3 to 6 months, because I constantly get people coming back after a week or two saying, why don't I feel any different? 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months. That's what I teach. So I'm teaching you the same. On the dosage, the standard starting dose is 2 cups a day. A cup is 60 ml. That's 120 ml. That is the standard starting dose. That is not necessarily your ideal dose. I take 4 cups a day and I'm perfectly healthy because I'm in prevention mode. And I am 65. Correct. So 60 ml. So, and by the way, the gene studies that showed that 20 to 31% increase in signaling was 4 cups a day. That was done with 4 cups a day. So everyone starts on 1 cup twice a day, unless they're profoundly toxic. I've known some people that needed to back that off to 1 dropper twice a day. They were just so toxic. And this product heals. It's very powerful, allows the body to heal itself, remember. That's what we say. So I get people on 2 cups a day. I'll get them through a month or 2. And then I'm looking, how are you going? Are you feeling better? Are you getting more energy? You're sleeping better? And usually you are. But if I'm not, guess what I will do? Double the dose. Keep it simple. Double the dose. Go from 2 cups a day to 2 cups twice a day. Then you'll get a result. And then you'll let that work through. You'll let it work through. Now, what does that mean? As long as they're improving, stay on 2 cups twice a day. That's what I mean by let it work through. Just stay what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You must drink a lot of water. You cannot detox without the water. And these products, all profound healing products, will put you into detox. They all do. I've done it with homeopathy. I've done it with herbs. I've done it with nutrition. I've done it with fasting. I've done it with diet. But I've never seen anything do it like Redox. That's how powerful a product it is. So you then run with the dose you're on until you level off. Some call it a plateau. Let's say you get 60% better. That's still a lot better. But let's say you're not moving. Okay, you're on 4 cups a day. How old's the person? Are they 80? Are they 70? Or are they 25? Well, go to 6 caps. I guarantee you can't overdose, remember. It's a natural product. It's a native product. For the doctors, there is no other product on the planet that is native. Native means it's made within the human body. This is not just natural, it's native. A blueberry is natural, but your body doesn't make blueberries. So this is not only native, it's natural, it's native. You cannot overdose. Any excess would go to salt water. Now, I've just given you a guide. Start on 2 cups a day. If you're not seeing results within a month or 2, don't rush up too quickly. Don't think, oh, I'm going to be smart and I'll take 4 cups when I first start a day. I wouldn't do it. But unless you are in a hurry because you then you might want to start more. Otherwise, do not start. Okay. Let it work for it. Then more new. Now, the sweet spot range, that's where most people in the world will get their nuts down. Now, that lady in Bangkok, that was not my window. My recommendation is the entire bottle, which was 16. She took the half a bottle of £4. She's good. That may. But I don't know how body. No doctor. Yes, no body.
Okay.
We want to make so we'll finish it up. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ryan. I'll just try to visualize this relatives, family. The cup is like this, not the coffee cup, okay? Dr. Dixon is mentioning about this cup, this 60 ml, twice a day. I'm taking this, Digna is also taking this, one in the morning and one before sleeping. That's 60 ml. I also received a question from, hold on, let me read the chat. There's a question here, Dr. Dixon. For prevention purposes, can we take it beyond 6 months, or do we take it for life?
I take it forever. I want to prevent disease. I mean, the reality is, so the doctors on know much more in it. Much more so every decade you're at high risk. It's actually believed that if you can't everything can, you know, that's been discovered on all levels so there's no way I want to these nuns. I want to prevent disease forever. So I will
excuse me. Sorry, Ray, but we got some echo, so I'm not sure it is your end. It's very hard to understand.
It's not an echo.
I think it's not echo. It's more on maybe the bandwidth or the audio, the mic distance from Dr. Dixon. Ray, can you come closer?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
I don't this.
Yeah, some garbled.
Yeah. There's a bit of echoing right now.
Oh, okay.
Can I need to see some patients. So can I be respectful? But I'm sorry, I need to go. So thank you very much. And but rest assured that Tom will be able to cut there and if any questions he can write it.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
thank you, Dr.
Thank you
Dixon.
very much, Dr.
Be in touch.
Ray, for your kindness. And
You just keep going, Tom. Just keep going. You don't. I'll talk to you later.
thank you so much.
Bye
Speak
bye.
later. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for being on the call, and thank you for being patient.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon.
Okay. Iman, can you take over, please?
Yeah, there's another question from one of my sister. It's about, does it help in sleeping issues and menopause? She's still young. She's still young, my sister, but have some menopausal now. So does it help in sleeping issues and menopause?
Yes, it does. I can forward the Tourette gene testing result, and it shows actually exactly the pathways, which one is serotonin, which is our feel-good molecule. The other one is the one which is neuron pathways. So it is helping with, that's why a person with dementia or Alzheimer's benefit out of it. And the third one, actually, it is regulation pathway of circadian cycle, which is sleep cycle.
Okay.
Now, if I could, because I'm a bit concerned that Peter might have also the same situation, that he will have to go to his own things on Friday night. So if Peter could give his testimony right now, and later I can answer all other questions.
Let's do that, Tom. Let's hear more from Peter.
Thank you. Peter, are you still there?
You have to unmute yourself.
You have to unmute yourself. Oh, yes.
I've done that.
Thank you very much. Please, my apology, it took a bit longer than I anticipated. Hope I didn't ruin your plans for tonight, today I should say. But if you could please tell your story. Thank you.
Okay, I could listen to Ray all day. You know,
Absolutely.
He's an incredible
Yeah.
fellow.
He's great. We are so lucky to have Dr. Ray on our meeting, because usually he's never coming to private meetings because he's so busy with what he's doing.
That's right. But no, that's a hard act to follow. I haven't got all that technology, but I'm just an ordinary guy who's retired. I'm 82 years of age. I had my birthday at the beginning of October, so I feel about 50, and my wife is exactly the same. We've been on a SEER just over 4.5 years, and basically the reason for it was I had major shoulder problems. I'd been trying everything with chiropractors, with osteopaths, and I finally got myself a good osteopath. She worked on me for about 3 months and said she couldn't do any more for me because there were various problems with both shoulders. So she sent me to a sports doctor who said, right, well, we'll go straight to the point and we'll have an MRI so that we can see exactly what's wrong. Well, when the MRI came back, he put them on his board and said, no wonder you're in trouble. He said, there is no ligaments, no tissues, nothing between your shoulder blades and your shoulder, your frame. He said, you've been on a drug that has destroyed everything. They were in a bad way before because doing a lot of do-it-yourself with roofing and concreting and things like that, I damaged my shoulders over the years. Bearing in mind I was 78 at this time, and she said, I can't do any more for you, go and see this sports doctor. When he saw the MRI results, he said, you need 2 total shoulder operations, removals, he said, but let me tell you now before you get too excited, you're too old, I cannot do anything for you, you will die under the anaesthetic because it takes about 6 hours to do 2 shoulders. He said, even if I do 1, it's still a major operation, so I'm sorry, no can do. So he said, you'll have to wait. They're working on a procedure whereby they're planning to, with people like me, planning to inject a silicone type of medication that will go between bone come bone. He said, but it isn't ready yet and won't be for a couple of years for human use. He said, so I'm sorry, you've got to put up with your painkillers for at least another couple of years. And I said to him, and I didn't know anything about a seer at this stage, can I do anything myself? And he said, no, it's impossible. You're too old. Nature doesn't provide you with anything that can repair to such a degree as what you need. He said, so I'm sorry, it's painkillers for however long you can put up with it. So I said, well, if I can succeed, I'll come back and see you. He said, fine, feel free. So I was under a naturopath at the time, well, still am. I have been under a naturopath for about 40 years because I firmly believe in natural medicine, and I believe this is what's helped me through all these problems. But anyway, we went through a course of about 19, 20 minerals and vapor rubs and all sorts of things with very little results. And my wife's hairdresser came into our house one day and said, she looked at me and said, are you okay? And I said, not really. I've got to have some more painkillers for my shoulders, they're killing me. So she said, well, come and talk to this lady that's coming to my house tonight. And I said, oh no, well, if it's marketing, forget it. I said, I've been in quite a few, 4 or 5, and I don't want to get involved in any more. She said, you must come and listen to this lady. It will help you dramatically. So anyway, before she left, I said, okay, I'll be at your place about 7:30, and my wife came with me as well. And after an hour of listening to Lorraine, you've probably heard a name mentioned when Dr. Rey, she stayed with Dr. Rey. Well, I bought a bottle immediately, which was totally against their rules, but and I couldn't believe what she said. She said, I said, well, if anything, if half of what you said is right, then I'm sure that's for me. Well, she said, it's more than half. All of what I told you is right. So anyway, I signed up that night. We signed up that night. I took 60 mil, before I went to bed. And I said to my wife, I'm not going to take any drugs tonight. I'm just going to try and see if this stuff works. Well, for the first time in about 3 years, I slept through the night till 6:30. and I couldn't believe it. And that basically was the start of my ASEA. But the other thing I should tell you was that the sports doctor found on my right shoulder a spur, and it was about as big as a 50-cent piece. And he said, that's got to be operated on to stop hurting you. So we'll book you in sometime for the removal of that. I said, okay, but let me try my methods first. And he said, by all means, go right ahead. So I did. That's what we did. And as Dr. Rey said to you, it took me about 4 months with ASEA twice a day, 60 mil, and rubbing on Renew 28 on the shoulder pains and things like this. It took me about 4 months, and I was finally starting to get rid of my pain. Bear in mind, I couldn't lift the shopping bag. I couldn't put my hands on the steering wheel of a car. It took me all day to sort of basically open the doorknob, and I was shocking, really. I thought, well, if this is old age, I want to give it away. Anyway, after 4 months, I was able to do everything. I was back to mowing my lawns. I was back to driving my car. I was back to shopping with my wife at long last, and I'm free. I can do all the training that I used to do, the exercises. The only thing I can't do, I can't walk the 7 or 8 kilometers that we used to do every day. My wife can still walk that far, but I can't. I walk about 2 kilometers a day now, and that's twice a day. So that's my life as far as improvement is concerned. But you notice little things. Dr. Rey mentioned it also does little things. I've been flying all my life. I used to work for an airline. I've been flying all my life, and it's affected my hearing and my sinuses, and I suffered for years with tinnitus. And some of you may know that that is like screaming in your ears totally all day and every day. I wear a hearing aid now, but that helps tremendously. But tinnitus disappeared. I've had vertigo. Again, I had a very bad accident about 40 years ago, where somebody hit me up the back at high speed and jolted my head violently. And whilst I was under a chiropractor and have everything treated, they told me after about 6 months I was cured. But as we find out later, as you get older and you make certain moves, and vertigo set in, and I went back to my osteopath, and she worked on me for a while, but with using Renew 28, I cured my tinnitus. So there's 2 little things. Another thing which I've had laser treatment in my right eye for about 10, 14 years through a specialist, and because I'm a diabetic too, capillaries in my eye was starting to get to a damaging situation. So he suggested I have laser treatment. Well, I went every year for about 10 years and had laser treatment in my right eye till 2 years ago. He said, something's happened. What's happened? The eye has given up basically on the laser, and it's pushed the problem to the back of the eye, and it's now mirrored in your retina. he said, and you're going to have an operation for it to be removed, he said, before it'll clear. Well, I woke up 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, and I'd lost the sight of my right eye. A blood vessel had burst and it had gone over the entire eye. I went to my specialist and he said, it will clear, give it time, but it just lets you see that the back of your eye is damaged. And I said, can I do anything myself? And he said, no, it's impossible. You need special equipment to be able to see behind the eye, and only people like me have got them, he said. So, no, I'm sorry, it's going to have to be an operation. Well, I talked to someone on the ASEA medical team, and he said, well, that's not a problem. You can put ASEA into your eye with no problems at all. It's exactly what the body wants. And whilst it's at the back of the eye, it will take longer, but by all means try it, not a problem. Now, I went to see the specialist February of this year, and he looked at my eye and he said, what are you doing? I said, oh, I've got Redox Signalling Molecules. And he said, what a load of rubbish. You know, he said, nothing can clear what you've got. And I said, well, I hesitate because I've been using this now twice a day for just under 12 months, and you can see the result. I can now see out of my eye, and I don't need to go and see him any longer. But that's just something. All he said, and I've been told this now several times, whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it because it's working. Now, I can't say any more than that. There are certainly other things that I no longer take any form of medication apart from insulin for my type 2 diabetes. I have 2 injections a day, which are quite small, and I'm working on it now. And the more ASEA I take, the lesser insulin I need. I've been on 44 units of insulin a day through my specialist, and we reduced it to 20 about 6 months ago, and now I'm on 14. So it's coming down, my ASEA is going up, and I feel 50 years of age. So I can only speak as I find, you know, ASEA has been a lifesaver for us. My wife is 82 as well. She's a type 1 diabetic, so she was on 7 injections a day to start with. She reduced it to 5, and she walks about 10 kilometers a day. She chooses hilly routes because she wants the exercise of going up hills. So just to give you one little story, a neighbour across the road from me here, we took her to an ASEA meeting about 3 years ago, and she doesn't believe in network marketing or anything like that. And when she drove us back home and we said, what do you think of the meet? She said, a load of poppycock, you know, nothing can do what all that says it can do. So we said, okay, all right, we'll never mention it again. We live opposite you, but that's it. Now, a year ago, just over a year ago, she came to our door about 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, and she said, can I just come in and talk to you? I said, yeah, sure, what's the problem? Thinking she'd got a huge personal problem because she's a lady that lives on her own. And she said, what is it you do? She said, because I've watched you over this last 12 months. You're gardening, you're washing cars, you're cutting lawns, you walk. What is it with you two? And of course, we got the ASEA bottle out and said, well, exactly what you saw 2 years ago. I said, nothing's changed. All we've done is been taking it daily and you see the results. She said, well, I'll join now because I want to be like you. She's 20 years younger, 25 years younger. She's only 60 odd. So it just goes to show people watch what you do and we have the results. So that's my story, Tom. You've probably heard it so many times. But
thank you very much, Peter.
Well, I'll stay on if I can. I'll stay on if I can.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So if anybody's got any questions, I'll try and answer them. Nothing technical. By the way, I went back to see my sports doctor, and when I showed him what I could do, he said, "Oh, you're just lucky." He said, "It's just a load of rubbish. It's all American rubbish." And he said, "What about that spur? Have you had it operated on?" And he did this to my shoulders, and I said, "No." He said, "But it's gone." And he opened my shirt, had a look at my shoulder and said, "You've had it operated." I said, "No, I haven't. It's just gone." He said, "Well, where's it gone?" The seer swallowed it. So that's me finished.
Thank you very much, Matt. The truth is that we always, it is natural progression that with age, usually people are going on more and more treatments and medication. And as you can see, even in this case, that Peter and Jill actually are reducing the amount of needed drugs.
Yes. And no medication at all. I've been on blood pressure tablets. I've been on pain tablets and things like that. Nothing now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peter, for that inspiring and wonderful sharing of your experience with this wonderful supplement. Thank you. Yeah. I think we have about 5 minutes before people are in California. It's nighttime. I think they still have to have dinner. Mga kapatid or relatives, quick question. Let's make this opportunity while Tom is here with you and Peter. Any question? Maya? Sister Mai?
Oh, do you need to take that same time each day?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, do you need to take the Redox same time each day?
No, not at all. You can take it whenever you like. The only one secret that they have is you must take your first one of the day as soon as you get out of bed. No coffee, no tea, no water. Have your ASEA first thing. Now, if you want 20 mil, 60 mil, half a glass, whatever, you must take it on an empty stomach and not eat for half an hour.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
But you can please yourself after that.
Okay.
Terribly sorry, I had some technical issues.
Oh, it's okay. So there was a question about the dosage, Maya, or anyone can take. So Peter answered the question. But Maya, for my case, let me share For this, I take that 60 ml cup every morning after brushing my teeth, of course, but no, it's an on empty stomach. No coffee, not even water, no breakfast, no bread. Empty stomach, take it. Then
No
it's,
toothpaste, nothing.
yeah. Then one more 60 ml cup before sleeping.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the person. See, remember, we're all different, but some people in our group have been taking it just before they go to sleep, and some of them can't sleep. It takes about 2 or 3 hours before they get to sleep. So what we said to them was, okay, take it at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon before you have your dinner, and then see how it goes. And then it works.
My wife, Digna, she has difficulty in sleeping unless she read YouTube or some magazine before sleeping. But after this, our routine is she take it before sleeping. She can sleep a lot better now.
Okay.
So again, depends on the body. You could have to experiment and experience it for the next few days before you make the normal routine.
Yep, exactly.
Another question? Alan or Tita Vilma, Tita Cora, Tita Baby? Any question to clarify? Again, if you have further questions and more information that you need, let me know. If I have the information, I could share to you immediately. If not, I'll ask Tom to share it with us.
Or if you can't get Tom, always speak to me.
Thank you, Peter.
It's okay.
Peter,
Yes,
thank you.
my pleasure. Lovely talking to you all.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
I think, Alan, any question? It's clear? Okay. I think if they have some questions, they will raise it up to me anytime by WhatsApp or Messenger. I provide you immediately. And I think we could wrap it up. And what next steps that we have is just to follow up with them for further solutions or answers that we could provide to them. And let them decide, because the science is there, the experience of thousands of people are there. I'm starting to experience after 2 weeks. And my goal for Digna, she's taking a anti-hypertension drugs, is to win out that hypertension drugs, because the pharmaceutical may also do some side effect on her organs like liver or kidney. So
Correct.
better health, natural way, native way, not natural way, native way. So I like the example of Dr. Dixon. Strawberry is natural, you take, or high antioxidant fruit like blackberry, but it's natural. But this is native in our body.
Already there.
Yeah, already there. Okay, no questions. We'll be in touch with you, all my dear relatives and family. Thank you for your time. It takes a little bit longer because first time to meet about this. You have good sharing from on the scientific side from Dr. Dixon, and wonderful sharing by Peter. And we'll be in touch with this next call. Will just be a short one if you have some further questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Love you guys. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Maya.
Have a
Thank you,
lovely
Maya. Tita Cora, Tita Baby. Thank you. Tom, give me 5 minutes, Tom.
Okay.
Thank you, Tita Cora. Tita Baby. Okay, Tom, thank you. Um, you want to some water to drink? I'll get some. I need to go to the washroom first. Give me 1 minute.
No worries.
Yes, about 1.5 hours we've been
Maybe
sitting.
a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Hi, Tom.
Hi there.
Yeah, I think we got their attention and attraction of the product. I got response already from my brother, the lawyer. He asked him for the price. I said, I think we need to try this for the family. That's a very good sign. Now, my weakness is closing. Teach me the closing. What's my next step?
What's your next step?
Yeah. I
You
get
have to follow up everyone.
we'll just give them some space first, right? Maybe not immediately.
And give them a chance if they want to speak individually with me with more questions. I'm free to do that.
Okay, okay. So when is the best time I'll follow up with them? Because it's about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I'll give them a day to absorb the information. Then tomorrow I'll follow up with them.